breaking barriers and bridging the gaps between patients and doctors. Welcome to Brainstorming with the Docs and your co-hosts, Dr. Glenn Harrison and Dr. Kolby Condos.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to this week's episode of Brainstorming with the Docs. I'm Dr. Kolby Condos, my co-host, Dr. Glenn Harrison. How's it going, buddy?
Doing great. How is your fine evening?
I tell you what, it's going pretty well. I'm a little sick of the weather. It's been pretty consistently crappy here. We have not had like a nice day yet. In fact, today when I woke up, it was a balmy 27 degrees and it was snowing. So
you didn't put the shovel away yet?
No, not yet. No, everything's still geared up. It seems like I feel a little bit like that Bill Murray movie, like Groundhog's Day, where every day is exactly the same. Like I wake up and the weather's terrible.
Different shades of white.
Yeah, and gray, right?
White and gray. Well, here in sunny Colorado, it got cool a couple of days, but the lawn sprinklers were on, so it wasn't that cool.
Yeah, wasn't cool. We'd have just had another skating rink. They'd have extended hockey season if we'd have thrown the sprinklers on.
Yeah. So today's an interesting topic. I think it is.
Yeah. When we were brainstorming topics, I mean, this is one where we get asked this a lot. And it's really kind of a hard question for us to answer because it's such a unique and kind of niche, part of our profession that there isn't really a good answer because we don't know either. But what we're going to try to do today is how, you as the listener or the person watching can determine if a practitioner is a good fit for you, especially in regards to like functional medicine. Uh-huh. If this is your first time watching or listening and you feel like you get value out of the content, please hit like and subscribe and turn on notifications because we're going to continue to roll out new content each and every week. And you never know when we might roll out something that's applicable to you. So yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about how to find a good provider that fits you well. And some things that you need to consider and look at when you're doing so.
Yeah. So I think finding a good provider, especially in the world of functional medicine, it's so focused on relationship. It has to be communication, relationship, help navigating through the challenges together. It's not a linear fix. It's not from point A to point B. So there's going to be dialogue. It's going to get messy. And I think we talked about behind the scenes of functional medicine. We had a podcast like that. I really like that one. So I think if there has to be that relationship component, there has to be the communication component, and that requires a unique fit. It really does. And I know we talked about this, but functional medicine is not just just science. They do this, but it's also an art. How do you apply the science? How do you interpret it? How do you explain it? And every personality, doesn't mean that you don't have to hate that you have to hate your doctor for it not to work, but there just might be a personality difference, right? And you talked a little bit about this. The personality match, I think, is just as important as the philosophy of the clinic because you get different philosophies in the clinic. So that's part of it. And I know you and I talked about this before, and I know my practice has really morphed a lot. It used to be all in person, and then it was partially in person and a fair bit online, maybe 50%. And then COVID hit, and then it was 100% online and 0% in person. Now I'm kind of in this hybrid mode where it's like 80 or 90% online and 10% in person. So some people we work with, they really, 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 really want to be in person. Not that many, actually. And some people, they're like, no, I don't want to drive in if I don't have to. So the clinic has to be the right fit for the person with all these aspects. Now, what are some other things that maybe if someone's searching for a clinic like this, what else would they look for? What would be some other things, maybe philosophies?
Yeah. So I think that you have to look at, what your personal opinions are. Because honestly, at the end of the day, if I have my opinions and my expertise and they don't line up with what you're wanting or what your perceived value is coming out of there, then maybe it's not a good fit. Right. So if I don't have, let me give, for instance, if you're someone who really strongly believes in the use of like pharmaceuticals and I don't have the ability to prescribe those, then that might not be a good fit. Or it might be a good fit as long as our communication is fine and we are able to integrate other aspects as far as like involving other providers, making sure that we're communicating really effectively and efficiently with them, That's something. When we look at like what you are willing to change, what your level of involvement is, if you are a really, really compliant patient and you have a provider that's going to lay it out for you, like this is what we're going to do, this is why I want to do it, this is how long I want to do it, and they explain to you why. Now, granted, nothing is completely linear, especially when it comes to this stuff, because the body is so dynamic that very rarely do you go, this is what I want to, this is what I want to do, this is how long I want to do it, and this is what I think that the outcome should be. It never works like that. You're always going to have an unexpected setback because life happens, whether it's exposed to something that they're reacted to, or they fell off the, the train as far as like their diet and workout and blah, 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 blah. So you have to find someone that A, you can communicate with, B, that you feel like is supporting you, and C, that you can be held accountable to, but also is a little bit flexible and understanding that it's not going to be fast.
Yeah,
it's not going to be linear. Yeah.
And I think that's why finding the right, I mentioned communication and everything in the world of integrative functional medicine, why it really has to be the right fit, because it gets messy and there's dialogue, conversation, and like you said, it's not linear. So maybe in the medical community is you have this, here's your drug. That's it. There's minimal communication required, or a lot less. There's still some, but a lot less. In this model, there's this constant navigational. There's active medicine that they have to be active in their care versus passive medicine, where just take the pill and it is what it is. So, I
always try to tell people, and I'm always trying to tell people, like, nothing is a straight line. So it's going to undulate up and down. You're going to have really good days, really bad days. You're going to have days you feel amazing. You're going to have days where you feel subpar. But I always tell people to look at the frequency, intensity, and duration of their symptoms, right? Or their frequency, is it less often? Is it lasting less long? And are the symptoms less severe? And as long as that's trending in a positive line, then that's a good indicator that the treatment is working for them. Now, how does this apply to your functional medicine practitioner that you're choosing? Like, that's where you're going to have to do things like, I always recommend that even when people want to work with me, I always would like to, if they have questions I feel like I can't answer or my receptionist can't answer over the phone, then I always try to do like an in-person interview. So I can explain to them exactly what I think, what I do, how I do it. And then they can determine, is that a good fit? If you come in with a condition where it's going to be 80% diet, 10% supplements and 10% working out and changing, physical activity, and you're unwilling to do one or two of those things, then it might not be a really good fit.
That's right. The tools that you're offering are the tools that the individual is looking for. Right. Because then it's not going to work. So there's got to be some kind of interview, like you said, some kind of conversation before getting started. Not like, okay, this is the doctor I'm going to, and then you start immersing yourself, investing in yourself, emotional, maybe financial, and then you're like, this sucks. Well, then it was a whole big waste of time for both parties. There were resources, time, and effort spent, and hope that just burns out. It just dies, and both parties aren't achieving what they wanted to do together. Right. So there's got to be some kind of meeting, consult, in without breaking the bank. Right. And kind of a warm up phase. Right. Everybody's time is important. I know at this point in time in my office, there isn't a free appointment. There isn't a free consult. Everything in my appointment in my clinic tends to be, there's discounted consults. So again, people aren't breaking the bank to learn enough about their case to decide if they want to take on care or go that extra distance. So I try to do that. But I'm invested as well, and invested with time. So, we both have to determine together whether we can work together before going into it. So there should be an opportunity. What are some other things when, how do you find the perfect fit? Someone's searching around and Googling. Right.
Well, I would look at like what their credentials are. Did they go to a specific school like the Institute of Functional Medicine? Did they get additional training through certain seminars, webinars. And I think that a lot of times people think like, they don't have a degree from the IFM or whatever. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're not good practitioners. That just means they didn't spend the money to do it. Now, the beautiful thing about like functional medicine is I think that a lot of really good providers are self-starters and good studiers, right?
For sure.
So there's a
never
lot
ends.
of, there's a ton of information out there. Like you look at what some of the stuff that we've utilized with like Apex seminars or like the Karazian Institute and stuff like that. Those are top-notch places where you can get the information. And I think more than anything, you have to look at, did you learn and apply it? And there's a lot of it out there. There's a ton of it out there. But I do think that is a valid way of looking at it. Maybe if you're like, I have nowhere else to start, like, how can I start? And that's where you can start looking at credentials, where they've studied, what they've studied. And then do they have specific experiences with like the condition that you are, suffering from? If you're a functional medicine practitioner and you're really, really good at, helping diabetics, then someone who's a diabetic might want to go to you,
That's very true. Yeah. You want, and then if a provider's been in existence long enough in this world, there's got to be some third-party validation. There's got to be some stories. There's got to be some testimonials or all that.
Yeah.
And that's not everything. By no means, it's not everything. But it shows a little bit of proof that people can vouch for the provider, that they and not only that, because the biggest mistake is, I found the best doctor, I found the best functional medicine provider. They don't exist. It's the best for the individual, the philosophy, the communication skills, the I don't know, the personality fit. That is going to be the best. And I know you talked a lot about this already, and we talked about it before this podcast, but are they a lifelong learner? And how do you know? How do you know if the provider, if the doc's a lifelong learner?
Well, I think that's part of the reason that you want to maybe do like an interview or a meeting with them, because I think that if they're passionate about helping people, then generally it comes out.
For sure. It will.
You can go in there. Yeah. So I think that's completely invaluable. And again, you might have to pay for it, which is okay, because if you're going down this road, you've already most likely exhausted every other option, and you're looking for someone that can like help you navigate the intricacies of what you have going on. And, this person could be totally invaluable to you. So don't let it turn you off if you have to.
And another thing I don't think we really talked about, but when there's you want one that's relatively confident, but not overconfident. Right. If they're like, I don't know anything about this. Well, maybe, unless they have a justifiable reason. There's my sidekick behind me. Unless they have a justifiable reason why they don't know anything, well, maybe they don't have enough confidence that you want to follow them. And if they're too confident, we'll probably run the other way. You're like, we've got this. We see this all the time. Yeah, just give me a little bit of time. This is easy. Well, that is not good either. Right. Because that's what we all want to hear, but it's not putting a door on a garage. It's like you said, it's way, way too dynamic, the human body and human physiology.
Well, and very rarely is it one thing. You know what I mean? Very rarely is it like, you have this. Well, you might have that, but what's the underlying cause of that, or what's causing that one thing?
That's right.
So that's where the art and the science all kind of meet and blend together, is because very rare. It's, in my experience, it's never just one thing. There's multiple facets to it that you're going to have to address.
And pursuing functional medicine, the phrase is, look for the root, the underlying cause. It should be the underlying causes. Because it's misleading that, we're just going to find that silver bullet and
never happens.
Just never, ever, ever. And I've never seen it. Honestly,
no.
I've never seen it. So if you're pursuing functional medicine, beware that there's probably going to be more than one. There's going to be more than one.
Yeah.
And if it's oversimplified, we did a podcast on oversimplification of chronic illness. If it's oversimplified, chances are it's not. The mark is missed.
Right. Yeah. So I hope you guys got value out of this. Let's summarize this a little bit. So if you've listened to us talk for the last 15 minutes, we're going to hit the key points. So number one, you have to realize that, not all functional medicine practitioners are the same. They have different personalities, different training, different specialties, different things that they're good at. So you might want to do some investigating, find out if what you're suffering from is something that they are equipped to manage or something they feel confident managing. Number two, you want to meet with them or at least have a conversation with them and make sure that as far as like a personality and a philosophy and an integration of care, like standpoint, you guys fit well. The last thing you want to do is spend your money on someone you're like, oh gosh, I got to go see Dr. Kolby. That guy's a total jerk. All he does is sit there and tell me that, you know, I don't do what I'm supposed, blah, blah, blah. So you want to make sure it's a good fit. And I think that if you're motivated, they're motivated, and you're both confident going into it, and you're both willing to accept that this is not going to be a fast thing. It's not going to be a super linear thing. It's going to be a journey, but they're going to help you figure it out, and they're going to help establish some life systems, some dietary stuff, some exercise stuff, some supplementation stuff. Then it's very achievable. But you just have to stay diligent about it.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I think that kind of summed it up. I think
perfect.
Yeah.
So if you guys got value out of this podcast and you want to hear more, please hit like and subscribe, turn on notifications, because we will continue to roll this out each and every week on Monday. And share it with anyone that you feel like might get some value out of it, and stay tuned because it's going to keep coming.
It will. It will.
So, all right, buddy. Till next time.
Okay. We'll talk later.
All right. Bye.